We had a company called LSD do a stage set. We were going to do a big American tour, and we were opening at the Maple Leaf Gardens in Canada. And somebody said, anyone got an idea of what we should do as a stage set? Geezer said, Stonehenge. And the guy said, well, how do you envisage this? And he said, life size.
Rob Reiner, the director of This Is Spinal Tap, just called Black Sabbath morons for suggesting they inspired the legendary Stonehenge scene. But here's the thing, if anyone invented the world of Spinal Tap is parodying, it's Sabbath. So let's unpack this insult, the history, and whether Reiner owes Sabbath more than just a punchline. In a recent interview, Reiner was asked about Black Sabbath's belief that their infamous 1983 Stonehenge stage set, yes, the one that was too massive to fit in most venues, helped inspire Spinal Tap's miniature Stonehenge gag. Reiner's reply was one word: morons. Harsh, dismissive, and maybe just a bit defensive. Let's rewind. In 1983, Sabbath's manager Don Arden commissioned a full-sized Stonehenge set based on Geezer Butler's note to make it, quote, life-size. The result? An expensive theatrical disaster that looked great but couldn't be used in half the venues they played. It became legend, and many say the inspiration for one of Spinal Tap's most iconic scenes. And if you line up the timelines, it's not just possible, it's likely. Now, let's listen in to something that Ian Gillan had to say about the entire Stonehenge episode. Let's listen right here.
We had a company called LSD do a stage set. We were going to do a big American tour, and we were opening at the Maple Leaf Gardens in Canada. And somebody said, anyone got an idea of what we should do as a stage set? Geezer said, Stonehenge. And the guy said, well, how do you envisage this? And he said, life size. So they produced Stonehenge in carbon fibre and whatever. And 3 container loads went out with the rest of the equipment to Canada. And we could get about a quarter of it on stage, and we're sort of edging between these huge monoliths and whatever. Don Arden was the manager at the time. Don Arden, who I have a very soft spot for. And so we get there, and it's unbelievable. There's all this Stonehenge stuff. So we get to the point where normally, and if anyone's seen Spinal Tap, you'll recognise this, normally 3 or 4 roadies used to come on in monk's cowls, and the bells would chime, the dong, dong, and then we go to something like War Pigs or Iron Man or whatever the opening thing was.
Alright, so Spinal Tap wasn't a parody of just one band, it was a parody of an entire era of rock and heavy metal, and Black Sabbath was the first heavy metal band, so they basically invented everything that Spinal Tap is commenting on. They were among the first to make heavy music theatrical, they used giant crosses, fog, fire, robes, pretty much everything Spinal Tap mocks. Sabbath was doing seriously in the 70s and 80s. So, did Sabbath inspire the most iconic scene in Spinal Tap? Or did Black Sabbath in fact inspire most of the scenes in Spinal Tap? Was Reiner just being snarky, or does he owe the godfathers of metal a little more respect? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm always listening. For my own sake, I think that Rob Reiner tends to shoot his mouth off a lot about things, and in this case, it's just ridiculous to call Black Sabbath morons, because if Black Sabbath didn't exist, there wouldn't be a movie like This Is Spinal Tap, and he would have not even had a topic to make the movie about. So if anyone's being a moron, in this case, it's Rob Reiner and not Black Sabbath. This is what I think, but what really matters is what you think. So if you have an idea about this or any other topic connected to classic or contemporary music, please drop it in the section below, and remember to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.
Music Guru here, asking you to help us on our march to 10,000 subscribers.